You are the solution. This is the method. The evolution of government. The evolution of democracy. The evolution of man.
Aloha, everybody. This is Dan Marks, articlev.org. With me today, I have Chaz Schaeffer from Occupy Pittsburgh and our group, articlev.org. And he's here today to tell us about his experiences recently at NatGat and what's coming up in the future. So welcome, Chaz. Thanks for joining us here today.
Thank you, Dan. Aloha from Pittsburgh.
Great. Let's see. First of all, we've got 5 questions. We're Article 5, so of course it's fitting we're going to go with 5 questions here today for you. And first on the list here, what lessons were learned at NatGat 2 this last summer, and what came out of NatGat 2?
Many more lessons than we could talk about were learned. As you can imagine, these things are a valuable learning experience, movement building exercises that we've had 2 experiences with so far. So this was held in Kalamazoo, Michigan, in the late August of this year, 2013. And some of the things we learned, were when you have a national gathering in the middle of the middle Midwest in Kalamazoo, Michigan, which a lot of people weren't sure actually existed, your turnout will be a little lower than it would be if it was in Philadelphia like it was the first year. But there was a reason. The reason we had it there was because a national gathering for Occupy could really change Kalamazoo, and in a lot of ways it did. We did get into the local paper. We made friends with the police. There were 0 arrests compared with the first national gathering having about 27. So that went really well. A lot of people don't know that prior to the national gathering in 2013, we encountered a boycott. It was about 3 weeks before the actual gathering, and it was brought up by people of color and indigenous people. We had done our best to reach out to especially people in Detroit, since it was a really close big city, and people in Idle No More. And along the way, somehow we stepped and faltered just enough to offend especially Idle No More in Michigan and Wisconsin. That boycott went as far as the Grand Council of the American Indian Movement, and in the end, I don't know that it affected turnout so much, because once again, there wasn't a great turnout. It was about 1,000 people over the course of 5 days, but it did hurt. It really hurt a lot of us organizers that we had offended people who we really wanted to be on the same side with. So that's one of the great lessons that came out of that was, there's a lot of different cultures and a lot of different people that really to be a transparent, open grassroots movement, we really need to be inclusive, and especially with groups, people of color and indigenous folks and women. Women are 51% of the world population. That's why every NatGat has had a FemGA so far, and at any rate, we were able to salvage some of our trouble, and we did this through. We had invited a Native American dancer, Art Shigoni, to do the opening ceremony, and then in the end, at the last minute, we were finally able to find someone named William Underbaggage to do the closing ceremony for us. So we were in that way trying to keep with a more indigenous approach to these kind of gatherings. And so, what was the second part of the question? What came out of it?
Right. What came out of NatGat 2?
Well, it's a good segue. It's what came out of it is that I particularly took it to heart to make sure that our native guests were very happy and not marginalized, because that was something that I kept hearing from the indigenous people, was that even if they come to our events, well, they just sit on the sidelines and nobody listens to what they have to say. So we made it a point to make sure that if Art or William Underbaggage wanted to have a teach-in, that they had a teach-in. If they wanted to to talk to everyone, that was a possibility. Well, at the very end, after the closing General Assembly, we had the closing dance, and it was during that time when William Underbaggage proposed. He's from the Bay Area, California, and he's from Pine Ridge Reservation, but his family's in the Bay Area. He brought up the idea that we would have the next national gathering in Oakland, California. So that was a pretty major thing. And I guess to further answer that question, that final GA, what came out of that was there was about 40 people involved in the General Assembly from all over the country. We had Tucson represented, Sacramento, Raleigh, North Carolina. There were people from Pittsburgh, and then all over Michigan. But everybody decided that it's in Occupy's best interest to support and agree with move to amend. They bottom lined an entire day of the national gathering and had a lot of really good things to say about how we can get better at movement building. Also, just a side note, Bill Moyer from Backbone Campaign was there, and those two worked together in tandem to just sort of get everybody really excited about movement building. So that's what I think came out of.
So now Philadelphia the first year, Kalamazoo the second year, NatGat 3, California. Why California, do you think?
Well, at both of the NatGats that we've had already, people from the West Coast have showed up. Not in great numbers, but they've come with great energy and great ideas. Somebody that came from Occupy Monterey to this year's NatGat told me about the spokes council model that they have set up in California, that the processes that their GAs are going through are seemingly more advanced than, or at least a different kind of GA system than what we're doing here in New York City and in Michigan and in Pennsylvania. To me, there was a couple calls for, people, basically whoever decides that they want to do it, then it pretty much whoever asks first. And as long as Inter-Occupy and people who want to do this get involved, then that's where it will be. That's exactly how it happened in Kalamazoo. Chris Wemoff, we went to Philadelphia together, and then we were at S17. And shortly after that, he said, you know what? Let's have it in Kalamazoo, and there was a consensus among the people that cared about it, and there it was. So, at any rate, I was pushing for California because there's so many more people in California than there are in Michigan. So the people that had sort of stepped up were Detroit. It was floated around, maybe we should have it in Detroit because they're doing great things. They're very integrated. There's a lot of people of color involved in that Occupy, which is, I wish it was more standard, that we were more diverse in our ethnicities, but Occupy Detroit has surmounted that already. At any rate, and then Raleigh, some people from Raleigh had talked about having it there, which would be great too, accepting that the country is large. It's 2,500 miles from New York City to San Francisco, and if you don't have a national gathering in the West Coast, chances are those people are just going to sort of back out of this whole idea that we should have any kind of national gathering. Right. So, I had mentioned that William Underbaggage sort of volunteered Oakland. Well, it didn't go over too well with Oakland. Their GA did not consent on it. They decided it would be a bad idea, that they wanted nothing to do with it, and They say fine having that GAT, but not we're not going to host it. Sure. After that I talked with Mark Mason about perhaps getting Berkeley involved, and I talked to some people in San Jose. But then out of the blue, William Underbaggage and a guy named Joe Hawk from Muskegon, Michigan, said it's done. Occupy Sacramento has consented to host. And so the time frame set up is somewhere around August 14th. A lot of the socialists and communists and just general people felt that the 4th of July weekend was too nationalistic for such a gathering. So it seems like August is the time that we're going for now. So that's the news I've got.
That's exciting. And what are some of the strategies that are being employed for NatGat 3?
Well, this is something that I heard from a good friend of mine in Philadelphia, and she called it the arc of empowerment. And, it's basically we went from being boycotted at NatGat 2 by the American Indian Movement and Idle No More to now there is an elder of the Lakota tribe of Pine Ridge Reservation in South Dakota that is one of the headlining organizers for this. Now he is a great individual. He worked heavily with Occupy DC and made it to New York City while Zuccotti was still there, and then since he's been all over Occupies in California, and he's really a good guy. He's like he's our native guy. And so he's setting it up. Actually, August 14th is his birthday, so this is kind of like a big birthday party for him. But he's an elder, and he's really well connected. He's the founder of the Indigenous Nation Network, and hopefully we'll see a much bigger turnout with the indigenous people in I Don't Know More, and people from Portland, Washington, Oregon, etc.
Right.
And the strategy I'm working on is, it seems like for the last 2 years, the caravan, which I've been involved with, we try to network people together for ride sharing, couch surfing, or whatever they need to get to the actual gathering. Every year it seems an afterthought. So this year, now that I've got a preliminary date and a pretty much sure spot, we've started on the caravan already. So to hope to get, maybe we can have buses. Maybe we can have a better caravan this year.
That's great. Get more people out there and get more participation too. I'm glad that we're injecting more ethnicity into it too, because we do need to reflect the 99% a lot more. And I do hear complaints that sometimes we seem Occupy seems a lot like the angry white man on the left, and we do need to inject more of these voices. We're a movement that doesn't have any leadership. We're not an organization, so we don't have any leader, but we have a lot of voices, and we need to make sure that a lot more voices get heard out there too. So now, as I mentioned at the very beginning, you are a part of our group, articlev.org too. You are there in a lot of these strategy meetings before we made our action in Congress and whatnot, and I've always felt like you're an essential part of this group, and if you could explain to everybody else why you also spent so much time with articlev.org too.
Right. Well, to me, it's the answer. This is the way to change the system that many of us in Occupy have found to be unfair, unjust, and definitely going in the wrong direction of history. So I don't juxtapose it to a violent revolution or anything, but this is the legal means by which, when the founders wrote the Constitution, this is the one part that this is how people can change the Constitution. This is how people can undo injustice without having a bloody revolution. And unfortunately, that the real irony is that as many people as that have tried to call for the Article 5 convention, it turns out that there's no way for the applications to be counted, and so it's just a sham. It's constitutional. It's kind of like a joke. If you're not going to count them, then what's the point of all these applications?
Right.
To me, this is what's going very well. Although you expect all the ramblings of Congress to sort of shuffle it around and try to keep it quiet, but people are realizing how far your letter writing has got, and how far this can actually go. I think people might be starting to get excited that what happens when they count, what happens if the 34 number is reached. So I'm definitely excited about it. I've told all my friends we just need to all meet up at the convention and come up with some reasonable amendments to send back to the state legislatures.
Right. That's how we basically change our system. The systemic reform that we all hoped for in the beginning is we have to put it in place somehow. So Congress doesn't seem willing to do it. It's a fascinating journey, and I appreciate your help and input along the way, definitely. And thanks again for joining me here today and informing everyone about what's going on with the upcoming NatGat and what happened with this last one. And I hope that we get a lot more people involved. Is there a way for people to get involved in these meetings through InterOccupy or anything like that right now?
Not quite yet. The first preliminary phone call, a conference call, was had this past Monday, so just 5 days ago, and the Inter-Occupy Hub has not been set up as far as I know, but it will be open, transparent, and inclusive of anybody who has the time. It seems like it might be on Monday evenings. I hope that would be great for me. But yeah, last year we ended up with 3 different calls. There was an outreach call on Thursdays, there was an AM call and a PM call, and about 40 people participated in the planning. So it's definitely open to everybody, and I'll spread the word as soon as I know.
Well, okay, then everybody, make sure you check your social networks for an Inter-Occupy update about NatGat coming soon. And thanks again, Chaz, for joining us here today. Aloha.
Aloha.
Oh, spend my days with the one of a kind, smoking my stuff and she drank all my wine. Made up my mind, gonna make a new start. Going to California with an aching in my heart.